Hey, hey, Tampa Bay, the Bucks know how to shine. Hey, hey, Tampa Bay, the Bucks know how to shine. Give a cheer for the Buccaneers. Give a cheer for the Buccaneers.
Hey, hey, Tampa Bay, the Bucks know how to shine.
Hey, hey, Tampa Bay, the Bucks know how to shine. Give a cheer for the Buccaneers. Go Bucks! Give a cheer for the Buccaneers.
Stand up.
Give a cheer for the Buccaneers. Go Bucks!
Because we know we're on the top.
We stand up! Hey, Tampa Bay, the Bucks know how to shine. Hey, Tampa Bay, the Bucks know how to shine. We can't hold out because we know we're on the top. We stand up.
Stand up and shout.
Go Bucks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking Sports. My name is Larry Frank. It's a beautiful Monday night, but not what I would call a glorious Monday night for Buccaneer fans. And we're going to go over the game. We're going to got a lot to do. And then in about 30 minutes, we're going to have a very, very special guest with us. Former Boston Celtic star during the 80s, played with Larry Bird, Dennis Johnson, Robert Parrish, among other greats like Bill Walton, Danny Ainge. Greg Kite is going to be joining us live. That's right, Greg Kite will be joining us at about 9:30. But, you know, we are definitely going to go over this game from last night, which, wasn't a pretty game. Let's just put it that way, just to put it mildly as I get organized here. And, you know, I know we have a lot to talk about in this game. I do want to let everybody know that we do have a call-in line tonight. We do have a call-in line. If you want to call in, we have let me make sure the phone, yes it is, it's right here. It is set up, ready to go. If you want to call in, we got one line. We can make any comments you want on last night's Buccaneer game, but the best way to describe that game is it was ugly. I mean, it was an ugly game. You look at all facets of that game, and we got our butts whooped. Now, I'm hearing all different things today, hearing all different things this morning when you wake up about this team and about this game. You know, first of all, let me start by saying this. Relax. I mean, it is one game, and everybody is having a heart attack over this one game that we look terrible in. Now, let me explain something to you. Our offense was terrible. Our defense was terrible. Our special teams was terrible. Our coaches were terrible. We just had a terrible night last night, and it's one of those games you have to put back in your mind, and you gotta forget. But, you know, for everybody to come out and saying, you know, I'm hearing all sorts of things, crazy stuff. We're talking about Coach Arians should be gone, Tom Brady is terrible, Antonio Brown is causing chemistry issue already. Just lots and lots of stuff we're hearing, and we're going to be going over in the first half hour. Want to remind you all, we are on YouTube. That is correct. We are on Frankly Speaking Sports YouTube. I put a call-in number up there. If you're interested in giving us a call, want to get your comments in live on the air, you can go ahead and do so. But this was a terrible loss, 38-3, and this team was not prepared to play. Were they ready to play or not ready? I find it hard to believe that, that they weren't ready. I would say more they weren't prepared for what hit them. And when you look at this game, the key down to this game is we were out-coached yesterday. It's okay to say that. That doesn't mean Bruce Arians is a bad coach. Doesn't mean he needs to get fired. Doesn't mean Byron Leftwich needs to go somewhere else. It means we were outmatched and outcoached from every position possible. Now, one of the things that the listeners of this show have to start doing is, you have to start listening to me when I talk. I don't just say things out there to go ahead and say them so I can hear myself speak and re-listen to the tapes. That's not what I do. Two things that I said, and the one that sticks out first of all is when we were on, and we've been saying this all year, but more so in the last Pigskin Thursday that was just on last Thursday. And by the way, we broke many records with our Pigskin Thursday. So thank you to all the listeners out there. But the one thing I said is, this defense is not good. And everybody's arguing me. I'm getting people commenting, people calling, saying, like, what are you talking about? This is one of the best young defenses in the league. And I kept saying, no, it's not. It's one of the best young defenses against the run. But it is not one of the best young defenses. They get beat in the passing game. And I even said it on Thursday night, on Pigskin Thursday, when we did our show, that on last Monday night's game when they beat the Giants barely, that any other accurate quarterback would have dissected the Buccaneers on that Monday night game. Daniel Jones had a lot of opportunities to go ahead and beat the Bucs in that game, but missed some key passes to key players, or the Giants would have won that game. I also said if Drew Brees was quarterback in that game, he would have dissected the Bucs, and that the Bucs are in for a very, very long game if their defensive backs and their cornerbacks don't get it together. And all I'm hearing is Jamal Dean this, Jamal Dean that, Carlton Davis this, Carlton Davis that, Sean Bunting this, Sean Bunting that. Guys, it's okay to say we're not there yet. We are not there as a defensive team. Now, it just so happened in a game where our defense did not play well that our offense didn't play well too. And a lot of people are saying, well, Larry, they didn't run the ball. They only ran the ball 5 times for 8 yards. What's going on here? Well, guys, when you get down 21-0 in a game, you have to do something to go ahead and push start these guys to go ahead and do something. And that's all they were trying to do. We played a bad game. It is okay. Tom Brady doesn't stink. Antonio Brown is not a cancer. Bruce Arians does not need to go. It was a bad game. You know what? Maybe this is what we needed. Guys, we are 6-3. Wake up. We are right in the thick of things, and everybody has it as if we just lost and now making the playoffs. We were not ready. And the one thing that I didn't like, if you ask me, in this whole game is that when we found out and we started playing this zone early and we started getting beat, for some reason, I don't know if it was Todd Bowles' decision or I don't know if it was Bruce Arians' decision, but no adjustments were made to change it up. So that was kind of concerning to me. But we lost the game. You can't have the I'm saying New England because we have Greg Kite coming on. You can't have every week these fans in Tampa going, we love Brady, we hate Brady, Bruce Arians is great, Bruce Arians sucks. This and that, okay? Antonio Brown was not a problem yesterday. Antonio Brown had nothing to do with them losing the game except that he is a player like everybody else on that team. Ali Marpet was hurt. You saw how much Ali Marpet means to this team. You had to put Joe Hagan next to Donovan Smith. Those guys aren't used to doing stunts together. They made mistakes. They lost the game. Do you realize if they go into Carolina, the Buccaneers, and win this week, they're 7-3, and you guys are still bitching? It's one game. They got manhandled. Maybe this will wake them up, and they won't take things for granted and go back in and watch the films and realize we are not there yet, and we got more to do. That's okay. It's okay. It's not who's playing well now. It's when you get to the playoffs, which this team will be in the playoffs. It's who's playing the best football at the time the playoffs begin. We're going to lose it to the Saints now. Let's kick their butts if we have to play them in the NFC Championship or something along the way in the playoffs. It's okay. But I'm listening to the radio today, and, I'm not going to go ahead and name the specific radio guy. Obviously, there's only one great radio station that does sports, and I wish there was more in Tampa. I think it would be fun to have more, but it's WGAE, and overall, these guys do a great job. John Momola does a great job. Pat Donovan, we've had Ronnie Lane, Zach Blobner, Jay Rector is awesome. These guys are great, but I heard a guy today who's been there for years, and he says, Antonio Brown comes on the air. Here's a guy doing radio for 20 years and comes on, is so darn stupid, and says Antonio Brown is the reason why this team faltered yesterday because he's already causing bad chemistry. And he was serious. I mean, how stupid can you be? Those are the people that should not be on radio. Those are the ones that influence the people out there in the community, and it's just a terrible, terrible job, and it's just not necessary to have that guy even put his voice on radio when he makes a comment like that. This guy's never played football before, and he's telling you how somebody is and how he's a cancer. Antonio Brown has nothing to do with this. Hey, listen, I'm not going to sit here and justify everything Antonio Brown has done in his life, but come on, man. That's ridiculous. That is just pure ridiculous. The game plan we put in place last night was not the right game plan. It was wrong, and we did not make adjustments. Want to welcome my good buddy Tommy from Temple Terrace to the program tonight. We got some real quick comments here. Let's see. Buck fans need to chill. I agree. Buck fans do need to chill out a little bit. It's 1-1 game. Okay, as far as blitzing go, one game, just a bad game. Let's see what this one says. Bad game, time to get after Carolina. Absolutely. And that's the right attitude right there from the fans. The game's over. We got to concentrate on Carolina. What the hell good is concentrating on what we did wrong versus the New Orleans Saints, who we're not going to play again in the regular season, matter? It doesn't. Let's forget it. But as far as making the adjustments, yes, that was wrong. I mean, Drew Brees was unbelievable. Let's give credit where credit due. Probably statistically the best quarterback to ever play the game, right up there with Tom Brady. She was 26 of 32, 222 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he was key all night long. Okay? The Bucs only had, I said, 5 rushes, 8 yards. Understand that 9 of Brady's passes yesterday went to running back. 6 to Fournette, 3 for Jones. Brady was not on. He's a human. He is allowed to have bad games. Then you hear the Steven Smiths and the Max Kellerman, who couldn't even hold his jock strap, going around saying how bad Tom Brady is. Believe me, there's one quarterback in the NFL that I want guiding me right now. If I have a one-game playoff, I'm putting Tom Brady in. And if there's any Tampa fans out there that think any differently, you're foolish. You're a bandwagon-type fan. That's what you are, okay? There is no reason. Tom Brady will be fine, and they will be up and ready for the Carolina Panthers, this upcoming weekend. Just understand, guys, last night the Saints were a better team. I mean, their rushing game killed us as well, and when you have an effective running game where you got a guy throwing 80% completion of his passes, it's going to open up the running game. Taysom Hill was phenomenal. We knew what he brought to the table. 7 of 54. Kamara, 9 of 40. Murray was 10 of 39. They had over 100 yards rushing. People say, well, how about Jameis Winston with all this eating the W's after the game, this and that? Who cares? Let him be. He's making a $27 million less than he was making yet last year, sitting on a bench eating W's. Who cares? I mean, who cares? Okay? Jameis Winston shouldn't bother you. He doesn't play for us anymore. You need to forget that name. But as far as I said, that defense of ours needs some help, guys. And I said this week in and week out. I told you that this team, and I hate to do that, I told you so, but this team's cornerbacks are suffering right now. I don't even like the way they play man-to-man, yet you saw what happened when they went to a zone blitzing last night. It did not work. It's not that we didn't put a lot of pressure on Breeze. It's that we weren't able to, because every time we did, he would pick us apart. Guys, it's a bad game. That's all it is. You're going to have to accept that. Don't hate your team. That's not the way us Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans are. We lost the game. We win this game. We're 7-3. Okay? What were you last year? Come on, guys. Gronkowski will be fine. Evans will be fine. These guys will come back to play. Believe me, the last time Tom Brady, lost 2 games to the Saints, he won the Super Bowl. Okay? To a team, not the Saints. He won the Super Bowl. Okay? You got 3 losses. If you are all going to look at me and say you're not making the playoffs with 3 losses, oh well. Have a great season, 13-3. And I'm not saying we're going to run it out. We got some tough games still. We got the Rams. We got the Chiefs. But guys, even if you win 5 of the next 7 games, you win 11 games on the season, it should get you in the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, everything goes. It's who's playing the best football going into the playoffs. But it's not time to think about the playoffs. Last night wasn't time to think about the playoffs. This Sunday isn't time to think about the playoffs. It's time to relax and take the Carolina game 1 game at a time. We need to win 1 game, and it's the one we're playing at 1 o'clock this Sunday in Carolina. That's what we need to win. Want to remind you all, if you want to go ahead and give us a call in, we do have a number here. We'll take all your questions, get you on the air. We're about a couple of minutes away from Greg Kite coming on with us. And then after the Greg Kite interview, we're going to go ahead and we're going to listen to Coach Arians. We got a press conference with Coach Arians we're going to listen to, and we're going to go ahead and take some of your calls. Realize this, guys. We beat right now only 2 teams that are over 500. We beat Green Bay and we beat the Raiders. Everybody else we beat was under 500. So we just need to raise our level a little bit. Don't take this, we play terrible on Monday, Sunday nights, prime time, and all that. All right? So don't do that. We are about, I think it is 10 minutes away. I'm sorry. Okay, 10 minutes away? Thank you. Our producer's telling us we're 10 minutes away from having Greg Kite on. Let's go ahead. I'll tell you what we'll do. Since Greg Kite's going to be 10 minutes away, let's go ahead and let's listen to Coach Bruce Arians' presser. And this was last night after the game.
Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay, we'll get started. First question will come from Rick Stroud.
Bruce, with everything that was at stake in this game, just how surprising, shocking was it for you guys to play that way?
It was shocking to know, just watch us practice the way we practiced all week, the confidence we had coming in. We have to go back and look in the mirror, coaches, players, everybody, just from yesterday to today, and another where we go 3 and out and then give up a touchdown. Second half, I thought we got to turn over and we don't score a touchdown. I thought that kind of was the end of it right then and there. And but I mean, I have to give New Orleans credit; they kicked our ass in every phase.
Brady has had 5 interceptions out of his 7 against the Saints. Is there anything they do in particular? Is it the pressure they're putting on?
And the pressure helps, but when you're down 28, you're not running the ball. The pressure's coming, and so yeah, I mean, there's still no excuse for interceptions, but he was getting hit, and there were. It's definitely not on him.
Next question will come from Jenna Lee.
Hey, Coach, for whatever reason, in primetime games this year, this offense has struggled to find a rhythm and hasn't been able to equal its scoring power that it has in its other games. What do you think the reason for that might be?
That's one of the things we have to look at because that's what we just addressed in the locker room. And we have stunk in those games. Now, we won one of them, but should have won the other one, but we didn't. And this one, we just basically handed it to them.
What was the mood and the attitude like in the locker room when you addressed your team?
Oh, everybody's pissed off, but too late now. We got to get ready for Carolina.
Next question will come from Greg Allman.
There's such a slim margin for error right now, going from a division lead to being on the brink of not making the playoffs. How important is it that this not carry over to next week?
They can't carry over to Wednesday. I mean, it has to be gone by Monday and hit the practice field ready for Carolina.
Thanks, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Next question will come from John Romano.
Bruce, obviously New Orleans is a good team, but is it concerning to you that your worst games of the season have been against good teams, that you've sort of fattened the record up against some lesser opponents?
Yeah, I think that's how you're usually judged. We were pretty good against Green Bay and we're really poor against New Orleans.
Next question will come from Scott Reynolds.
Bruce, what was the line of thinking in keeping Tom Brady in the game so late when it was completely out of reach and allowing your 43-year-old quarterback to get hit repeatedly?
Just get points on the board. He's the quarterback.
And earlier this season, you said that you had to do a better job, or Byron had to do a better job of getting Mike Evans 10 targets a game. He finished with 6, but was only targeted once in the first half. What's happening with Tom not getting the ball to your Pro Bowl wide receiver?
Yeah, it's part of his scheme. Part of it's reading out some things that Mike was open on and just finding him. Still learning the offense in some spots, but we got to do a better job.
Next question will come from Rick Stroud.
Bruce, I know you got down early. Having said that, you come out of the game with just 4 rushes attempted in a kneel down. You've got to strive for more balance than that, even if you fall behind, right?
Not 28. We were in 2-minute offense pretty quick in this one because the time was we were going to get so many possessions, and we had to throw the football. And obviously, you got to protect better when you have to throw the football like that.
Next, we'll go to Sarah Walsh.
Bruce, this line's done a pretty good job of protecting Tom this season. How much did Ali Marpet's absence matter tonight?
I have to grade the film. I don't think Joe was poor. I think the fact that
it was
a known passing situation every play.
And they were bringing 5.
And they were bringing 5.
And everybody had a single block.
So
it's the type of situation
you never want to put your quarterback in.
Yeah, and Ali Marpet was gone, a big issue. But let's also give credit where credit was due. We said Drew Brees, 26 of 32, 222 yards, 4 touchdowns. The guy hit 12 different receivers. Come on, guys, that's mixing the ball up all over the field. Just destroyed. Definitely destroyed our defense, which we have talked about, and we will talk about after the interview. We got Greg Kite coming up, former Celtic great, played with Larry Bird, Dennis Johnson, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale. He'll be joining us in about 5 minutes, so we look forward to that. For those of you that are on, we have different ways you can get in touch with us. Go to our YouTube channel, Frankly Speaking Sports. You can reach us there. We got a brand new YouTube channel, plays all the previous and past videos. It's okay if you belong to our Facebook page. Go ahead and also hit the subscribe button on YouTube. It is free. Also at Twitter, we have a Twitter account at Larry Frankus. We're posting and retweeting things all day long. We also put a copy of our show on there after the show. And then let's see, we got another one here. Let's see. There we go. We got Frankly Speaking Sports, our Facebook group, which many of you are on right now, or you're on YouTube. Frankly Speaking Sports. Want to remind you, you can join us that way as well. So lots and lots of different ways that you can go ahead and join us. Want to remind you, after the interview with Greg Kite, which we'll have in a moment, go ahead and write this number down, 813-922-9810. After the call with him, we'll be taking your calls, discussing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' latest game, which they lost by the score of 38-3. The Buccaneers are 6-3, half game behind first place in the NFC South. If you didn't know better, you think they were 0-9 by the fans' reaction. That is not the case. So go ahead after the interview with Greg Kite. Go ahead and do that. Give us a phone call. We'll be more than happy to talk to you on the Frankly Speaking Sports Hotline. Also want to remind all of you, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on our Bullseye platform on Facebook. Not only are myself and my great host, Bradley Lewis Walker, going to break down the Memphis game, which we lost by only 1 point this weekend. Unbelievable game. Unfortunately, we came up just short. We will go ahead and review that game. We'll preview the upcoming game this weekend versus the Houston Cougars. And we're also going to have former USF great Tony Greer, great basketball player, had a great career, will be joining us live. Our show begins at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. For those of you that are fans, that are USF fans, USF basketball fans, sports fans, go ahead and tell them about Bullseye. It's another Frankly Speaking Sports production platform. So let's go ahead and join that as well, as we look forward to that show tomorrow night as well. Guys, we are a few seconds away from having the great Greg Kite joining us. Let me go ahead and play this little video while he's going to be joining us. He's trying to come on now, of what it was like back in the 80s with the Boston Celtics.
A standard treat down Causeway Street, it's a guarantee. Before you take a seat, that the Celtic team will perform a feat of a passing game that can't be beat. First, she's the thief who throws the bird, who gets the ball and the word to a man named Ames, who's got the reins and makes the most of what he's got by making good on a three-point shot. They'll start to play with DJ, who makes the thing to see sting, with Kevin McHale on the trail as a last loop going to the hoop. There's more to see in this passing scene, a dozen players with ability, like Benson, Third Kill, Wedman, Kite, and Big Bill. But before you go and hit the aisles, stick around for Rick Carlisle. It's the same attack in Pontiac, a standard affair in Madison Square, in the Omni, Mecca, Meadowlands, or Summit. But the real mystique is what's unique. It's a standard treat down Causeway Street. Down Causeway Street.
Oh yeah, that was an old tape that I found in back in from the 1980s. Was a Celtics little song about down Causeway Street, and we are moments away from having Greg on. He says he's logging in right now, so let's see. He should be coming up in a second. So once this computer gets ready, we'll go ahead and get Greg on. All right, that's my face. We don't want to see me anymore. All right, we're just waiting for Greg to come on, so all right. Should be coming on right now. All right, everything's looking good there as he's about to come on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor, thrill, and pleasure to introduce to you former Boston Celtic great, won 2 championships. I think he played in, don't quote me, but 4 during that span with the Boston Celtics. Let's welcome Greg Kite. Greg, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Larry. I don't know about that Bucks flag behind you, though. They're not doing too well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it was a rough night for us last night here.
It was. Wasn't pretty.
But
1 week.
Yeah, there you go. Well, first of all, thanks for joining us. I want to thank you very much for coming on Frankly Speaking Sports tonight. Let me ask you this. We were just having a conversation on our last show around basketball players and about how the game is different from, actually it was from the 80s down to today's game, about the team-oriented game. Talk about the game, Greg. No better person I can think of than talking about a team-oriented way the game was played back in the 80s compared to today, with such players as Larry Bird, Robbie Parrish, all these great, Kevin McHale, and so on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was an awesome era to play when I did back in the 80s and 90s, and I obviously was fortunate to play on those championship teams from incredible Hall of Famers and other great pros. But it's still a team game today. The thing that's happened today is they changed the rules. They changed the rules on defensive contact in the early 2000s. They did that because the product was getting ugly. They were slowing it down after the Jordan era. Some teams were slowing it down. Some teams that were not. There were a lot of scores in the 80s, sometimes in the 70s and 90s, and it wasn't good for marketing. So they changed some of the contact handshaking rules and how you could guard guys in open post. So it's kind of changed the physicality of the game. And then you've had the trend with the analytics and all the 3-point shooting and spreading the floor and running the numbers. So, sometimes it does get a little bit less of a team game in that we just see guys standing around, spot up and shoot, or James Harden drive to the basket. But even the good teams, though, like the Warriors, they were great 3-point shooters during their run, but they would cut to the basket, move, cut. So there's still elements of it there. It's just played a little bit differently, and the rules a little bit different right now.
So let me ask you this. You're the 21st pick overall back in the 80s for the Boston Celtics, and you're coming on a team, I believe they had just traded Rick Roby away, a center, and now you're coming on a team that is filled with probably the best 6-man arguably to ever play the game in Kevin McHale. You have Robbie Parrish. When you were drafted in the first round by the Celtics at the center position, what was your immediate thoughts?
Well, I was excited. Obviously, it's been a long-time goal of mine from youth basketball age, junior high, high school, to be an NBA player. So it was coming to reality with that. And then to get picked by the Celtics on top of that, I was kind of projected as probably a high second-round pick, maybe sneak into the first round. And I was picked as the 21st pick in a 23-team league then. And so, the breaks kind of went my way. The Celtics had traded Rick Roby. It was one of their backup centers, or their backup center, to Phoenix for the rights to get Dennis Johnson. So it opened up the door to get Dennis Johnson. And Celtics actually had their eye on, Red Auerbach had their eye on Roy Hinson, who was a big man coming out of, I forget where Roy played in college, but he was a good pro. And Roy went to Cleveland to pick before the Celtics picked. So the Celtics picked me, and then coming in there, hey, with that team, with those veterans, and those pros like McHale was the 6-man back then, I knew there wasn't a lot of, wasn't going to be like open door to playing time. It was a veteran team that was playing for championships, and so I just worked hard and made my place and found my role there, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun playing with those guys.
Greg, how much did you learn? You're playing with some of the best players to ever play the game, arguably some of the best teams to ever play, and you're watching probably the best team basketball, front row seat to unbelievable team basketball. Just by sitting there and watching, how much of an education did you get in basketball?
I got a PhD in basketball. And, if you go to this level and you play in the NBA, which there's only, so many people have, you really do get a PhD in basketball because you're around it all the time at the highest level. And certainly me there, like I said, I played on the Celtics team in 86, 85, 86, 87 when I played there. We had 5 future Hall of Famers on the team, and some other guys, Danny Ainge, Jamel Carr, other guys like that who'd been all-stars a time or two in their career. So I got to buy a ticket to go walk through the Hall of Fame in Springfield and see their displays. But you certainly learn, and then just even going against practice against those guys in a game. I mean, anytime you move up to the next level, basketball, or from high school to college, college to the pros, junior college to 4-year school, players' games really take you gotta mature, you gotta grow, and then you learn from those. And what a great setting for me. I had a good foundation from my college and high school days with fundamentals and things like that. But I was just around a set of guys who were really true pros. They really, we got along great. They rode each other hard. We had a lot of fun. We ripped each other. We played jokes on each other, but we competed too. And so, I saw what these guys, a lot of them had been around the league then, besides the Hall of Famer, Larry Bird was in his MVP days. So fantastic just sitting and watching them there. But all the other guys, have been around the league 5, 10, 12 years, and they really knew how to play the game. And so learning from them was an awesome experience.
So what was it like? I mean, the Boston Garden, you walk out, you look up in the rafters, you see amazing amount of history. The first time you walked in, was a Boston Celtic the first time you walked into the Garden as a player?
Yeah, I'd never been in the Garden until we played there. Maybe we didn't usually practice there. We practiced as a small college, and so I'm sure probably I'm thinking back, my first exhibition game there was the first time I'd been in the Garden. I'd never been there as a fan or as a player at the college level or anything like that. So it was one of those unique historic buildings with a lot of history, but it was also old, so it had its famed lore of creaky floor and hot locker rooms.
So let me ask you, for the fans that didn't get to watch, maybe they were too young in the 80s, talk about the experience. First of all, let's talk about the experience of playing with Larry Bird and describe to them what Larry Bird was to the Boston Celtics.
Well, Larry Bird was the key to the Boston Celtics. He was he and Magic Johnson and for a number of years were probably the top players in the league. Obviously a lot of other great players around, but Larry, was in the early 80s to the mid 80s to, about 87 when he started getting some injuries and wearing down. He was just at the peak of his game, and everybody looks at Bird as a great scorer and shooter. He was, but he was just good he was also just as great of a passer. That might have been the best thing he did, actually, was passing the ball, and he was probably the best. He was one of the best defensive rebounders in the league too. But and even more than that, Larry's mind and he wasn't afraid out there. He wasn't afraid to fail, and his confidence out there was next to none. And so the great players put all those things together: the work ethic, the skills, that mental strength, that mental capacity. And Larry had that. But he was a beauty to watch, man. When he got rolling, if you haven't seen it, you're a youngster, go back and click on some YouTube highlights of Larry Bird.
Oh, and I had the pleasure of watching all you guys play because I lived in Boston in the 80s. So I've had that pleasure. So I know what it was all about growing up. But talk about that run. You had 4 straight NBA finals. You won 2 championships. Talk about the experience. It's one thing to play in the NBA. What is it like to go through the playoffs and play and win an NBA championship?
Oh yeah, I mean playing in the NBA finals for 4 years in a row, I didn't realize that we were only the second franchise in history, and I think it had been a Celtic run before in the '60s that had done that until the Miami Heat did it. 25 years later, 30 years later, with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. So 4 years in a row, and then they had this 30 for 30 series, which is a great one about Celtics and Lakers. People should go watch that if they didn't see it before. But in the '80s, either the Lakers or the Celtics were in every NBA final, either together playing each other, which happened I think 3 or 4 times, and then, or one of them individually was playing. So it was an awesome era. That it was kind of that springboard off the great NCAA final with Magic and Larry at Michigan State and Indiana State, and they took a league that had some, just a couple years before was tape delaying NBA final games and had a lot of issues, drugs off the court, and things like that, and really took the NBA to new heights with marketing, exposure, and fan interest. And then when you had those 2 top storied franchises, every great story, every great movie, it's got a hero and a villain, and that's what we love about sports. It's exciting when you get to your hometown favorite or whatever, but these traditional rivals in sports, the Yankees and the Red Sox, the Celtics and the Lakers, the Chiefs and the Raiders, or whoever it is in a sport. That's what really brings it out, and that was so awesome. It was just incredible fans, incredible attention, people all across the country, all across the world. It was all focused on that, and being in those 4 NBA finals was just really the peak of the game in the 1980s.
Now, talk about the time when you had to make the decision. You leave Boston, and here you're at a place where you're a backup player. You're getting some time. You're averaging about 8 minutes a game. You're contributing to the team. You're winning championships, and now you got a choice where do you want to be a backup or do you want to get an opportunity and have more of a role and even possibly start somewhere? How tough was that decision for you as far as to go play somewhere else?
Yeah, it was a difficult decision, but sometimes as a pro athlete, pro basketball player, you don't always have total control over the decision. So when I left Boston, I really didn't have total control over it. It was going to happen one way or another. I was still under contract. It was during my 5th year there, about halfway through the season. Celtics were struggling with some injuries. Kevin McHale had a screw put in his foot the year before. Larry started to have some injury problems, and Bill Walton was still hurt. And anyway, they brought in Artis Gilmore as a backup, and so they put me on the injured list. And you could always put somebody on the injured list. Everybody's always banged up. My back was sore. 30 years later, my back is still sore about every day when I get up. But that's just the wear and tear of the game. But at one point there, after a few weeks, I think the Clippers were trying to trade for me, but why give up anything? Somebody else needed a center, and some other team in the league challenged the Celtics my legitimacy on the injured list. So I was going to have to be examined by a doctor in the league to see if I was really legitimately injured. I may have passed it anyway or not, but anyway. So what ended up happening was they waived me, and the Clippers claimed me on waivers. So they picked up my contract. So it just kind of forced their hand, kind of forced my hand a little bit. Downside was I left Boston. I was no longer in Boston. It would have been great to stay there my whole career and play a little bit more. But the upside was the downside, and I went to a terrible team in the bottom of the league, but I did get to play. I did get to play a lot. And, when you're with a championship contender and you're a young player, every game is so important to those championship teams like the Celtics or any team making the the finals. And so there wasn't a lot of room for mistakes for young players to go out there. But with a team like the Clippers, I got to do that, in the next year and a half. And then I went on from there to play briefly with the Charlotte Hornets and for a year with Sacramento Kings and eventually with the Orlando Magic. And those are really good opportunities in the middle of my career because it solidified my position as a good, solid backup center. Even I started a lot of games for those bad teams, but that's really how you create your value in the league. So it was kind of a double-edged sword. It probably helped my career to go on and play somewhere else and play a little longer. On the other hand, leaving the Celtics was a sad day.
Well, believe me, we all remember you, so don't worry about that, Greg. Let me ask you this: after basketball, let's talk a little bit about after basketball. And are you still the commissioner of the basketball league, the Florida Basketball Association?
Yeah, I've been involved with the Florida Basketball Association for about 10 years. A gentleman named Mark King, who I know, formed it, and it's one of the longest running minor leagues in the U.S. I mean, outside of like the G League, a lot of minor leagues, there's just not a lot of revenue, and so we've always kept it kind of Florida-based. It's kind of a short niche season. Kind of screwed up this year with the pandemic.
Right.
Normally in spring and summer they play about 10 or 15, about 15 games. And a few guys that play low levels, overseas and post-college guys. So my role in it's not a big role. I've just been the commissioner, and involved in a few league meetings, go to a few games and things like that. And those guys put their heart and soul into it, but they have fun doing it. We've had a couple of guys that actually played we got tryouts with the G League, but it's usually just some guys in their 20s, sometimes up to about 30, who want to just keep playing basketball after their college days. And a few of them have gone and played overseas in Puerto Rico, Mexico, small countries in Europe, things like that. And so I enjoyed being that, but I'm also stay involved with youth basketball. I had a stint with college coaching back for a few years after I retired, but I helped as an assistant coach at Pathways School, a private school here in Orlando, and we had a varsity game today, so I'm involved with that. So.
Great. Now, you're also, if I understand this correctly, and I'll let you explain it more, is it a financial advisor? Is that what you're doing now, advising families on financials?
Yes, I'm a financial advisor and investment advisor, and I'm a fiduciary. I give people financial advice. We help set up financial plans, and I recently joined a longtime friend who used to work with in the industry, Sean Pauly. So I'm with Pauly Wealth Management. You can find us at paulywealth.com, Polley. And, when it comes to money, it's kind of like oxygen, we deal with it every day, whether we want to or not,
Right.
And what I've enjoyed, I got into the industry about 15 years ago, post-career, is, I enjoyed teaching people a little bit, helping people understand a little bit more about how money works. Just because, money's not everything, but without a good plan, a good management, it can be pretty stressful. And stress, money stress is not a good thing. It can be not good for your health and tough on relationships and marriage. So helping people make a good financial plan, just like, we probably all know how to do a sit up or a push up or, pump some iron or go jogging or walking, but it's always great to have a coach, or a workout partner or somebody, a trainer or a coach. So, on the financial end of things, that's what we're able to do. We're able to work with people to help them, plan for those big goals in the future, like retirement, putting their kids through college, etc.
Greg, why don't they do this? I mean, you're a person, you're a former athlete, and these are things that you would think like later in high school as kids are getting older, instead of worrying about something like geometry or algebra that they're never going to use in their daily life. Wouldn't this be good to start doing it in maybe the high school level or definitely the college level? Could you look back as a former athlete and saying, and maybe you were smart enough to do this before and had guidance, but there's a lot of even athletes that, they go from college, they go to the pros, especially in certain sports like basketball and football, where you don't have like minor leagues in baseball, where they could really use this education on how money works. Wouldn't this be something good for them to utilize at that age?
Oh, absolutely. From the beginning up, and it was just a few years ago. There were only 4 states in the country that required like a mandatory personal financial course for high school students. Now it's improved. I think there's like 15, 20 of them, but even then it's still very basic. And, you think about it, most families, a lot of times you don't talk about it and, you don't really learn much. Yeah, we're dealing with it all the time. So teaching young people and hey, I got a bachelor's degree science based in college at Brigham Young University. I never had a personal financial course in college. I just got interested in it during my career, and then post career I got involved. And so it's really a big need when you think about it, just, and we kind of get, it's kind of all a carte. We get all this stuff different, we through our workplace, maybe we get a retirement plan. Maybe we don't have a retirement plan because we're self-employed or a small business. We borrow money over here. We save money over here at the bank. We go, get this car loan over here. We don't know how it fits all together. So helping, people how to fit it all together. And then certainly, athletes, young athletes, now the leagues, the pro leagues have done some proactive things to kind of help, give seminars and guidance to guys. And so hopefully they're doing better. But you always hear about these sad stories because it is so backwards, I mean, I was fortunate to play 12 years professional ball, and but the average NBA player probably plays 3 or 4 years, and NFL, that kind of thing. And if you're lucky, you play 10, 15, 18 years, but you're earning more money in your 20s or maybe your 30s when you got less life experience. Most of the time, people, in their careers and jobs, we're earning more money in our 50s and 60s and 40s when we're hopefully a little smarter, a little more mature. So there's some good chances, opportunities for guys to gals to blow it or earn a lot of money early, but also too you get to where you establish this this lifestyle for most people 6 figures. I guess some of these athletes today 7 figures even. And so how do you make that? What happens when the game ends? You got 50 years to live. How do you stretch that out?
Right. And Greg, this is the time, and we have a lot of listeners here that are, let's just say, from 20 up, 30s, 40s, 50s. A lot of people get this image that I can wait. And isn't it the longer you wait, the more you're really losing, because the time where you really need it, I would assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is while you're young, while you're starting a family, while you have a lot of these things going on, because later in life, your family's going to grow older, and, I don't want to say they can fend for themselves, but, people think, well, I can wait till I'm 50 to do that. But isn't it right? Like when you're right out of college to start thinking about a financial plan?
Absolutely. In college, and even as a teenager, if you can, procrastination is one of the biggest enemies of wealth. And it's kind of like the old tortoise and the hare. The tortoise wins the race because he's slow and steady. And so that's what if young people, even in their 20s, even though they're in school or just getting their career started, and that's one of their excuses. Oh, I'm just getting a career started, trying to find a job. They rack up a lot of college debt, which is awful these days. But even somebody saving $100 a month, or for $50 a month when they started, and as your income goes up, increase that, and then learn about smart ways to save that money and invest that money, and you'll be way ahead. There's a number, I don't remember the exact number, but there's people, if they just save for if somebody just was say 22 and save for 8 or 9 years till they were 30 and stopped, say they were saving $300 a month, and that person, and then somebody else waited till they were 31 to start saving at age, and they were earning the same rate of return. At age like 65, the person who started at 22 and stopped would have more money.
Right.
That's where procrastination, interest, everybody knows about interest, but compound interest is a really powerful principle. So that's where your money's working for you,
Right.
A lot of these great people in history, they figured that out, JP Morgan and Paul Getty is, hey, I can make this money work for me while I'm sleeping.
Right.
So, and so many people, I mean, there are a lot of opportunities these days to create something, do content. There's all this gig economy. Some people hit it big with an idea, and that's great. maybe many of us will come across some kind of windfall in our life, but that slow and steady wins the game. And you think about this, just with COVID, what has hit so many people, boom, my work's been cut back or I'm out of work. And yeah, there was some relief from the government for a while, but then boom, you're out of your savings, you're not able to pay your rent. So you gotta, save money for a rainy day for those emergencies and save money for long-term goals and try to minimize the debt that you have, at least especially the consumer debt, the high interest rate debt.
Now, Greg, for those people that are listening, if they want to get in touch with, let's say, because we're coming from Florida too here, our program, and they want to get in touch with the company you're working for, with you yourself, how can they learn more about this?
Yeah, they can just go onto our website to polleywealth.com, POLLEY wealth.com, and they can actually request an appointment or just want contact for more information. They'll be able to reach out to me or Sean, or get to me. That's probably the best way to contact me. I'm pretty easy to find on the web too. If you want to message me personally through Facebook or Instagram or something like that, I don't use that much, but Facebook Messenger, etc., you can do that as well. I'm pretty open. But polleywealth.com is our website, and that's it. We got a lot of contact our numbers there online.
All righty, my friend. Well, listen, Greg, I want to thank you so very, very much for joining us tonight on Frankly Speaking Sports. I really, really enjoyed catching up with you.
Well, I did too. Thank you, Larry. I enjoyed it too, and look forward to maybe meeting in person sometime. So you're down here in Tampa, correct? You're in the...
Yeah, I'm right in Tampa area.
Okay. Well, if you're over in Orlando, give me a ring.
All right, love to do that. All right, you be safe, my friend.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good evening. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
That was Greg Kite, former Boston Celtic, joining us here on Frankly Speaking Sports. What a great, great player he was. What a great, great guy he was. And we're going to do some things here now. I know we're going to go a little bit over. I expect on Monday nights, we're going to open up the phone lines for some of you that want to join us on the phone. Let me see if I can find that number here. There we go. We'll have a producer put that up there. And if you want to call in, talk about the Buccaneers, get on why we do some informational things that we're going to do. Go ahead and do so. We'll take your calls. We'll put you on as we have about 5 or 10 minutes left in today's program. I do want to remind everyone one more time, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, on our Frankly Speaking Sports production of Bullseye platform. It's capital BULLS space EYE. You can go to Facebook and join the group. Everything you want to know about and more about USF athletics, we try to keep you updated on the latest news, but also on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m., me and my good buddy Bradley Lewis Walker, we do a show called Bullseye. And tomorrow we're going to have former USF basketball great Tony Greer. That's right, Tony Greer will be joining us live on our Bullseye platform. Then Wednesday night, right back here on Frankly Speaking Sports and our Crew Life platform. We are going to be, what an unbelievable Wednesday night show. We usually talk Buccaneers. We try to make it a theme about Tampa sports, and I was thinking about the opportunity came up. What a great, great opportunity that on Wednesday night, and this we announced this on Sunday, that we are going to be joined by, let me make sure I got the right time here for this. Stay with me, folks. Yep, okay. We are going to be joined on Wednesday night on our Frankly Speaking Sports show, former 2004 Stanley Cup champion, played for your very own Tampa Bay Lightning, Brad Lukowich. Brad Lukowich will be joining us live on our Frankly Speaking Sports platform. Once again, tomorrow night's Tony Greer. Wednesday night is Brad Lukowich. the former Stanley Cup champion. Actually, we won, I think, the Stanley Cup champion 2 years in a row, one for the Dallas Stars and then one for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So great shows. And then, of course, Thursday, our number one hit show, Frankly Speaking Sports production of Pigskin on the Frankly Speaking Sports Network. We are just having record numbers of views on this Thursday night show. We preview or we recap the previous week's game, which was versus the Saints. And, of course, we will preview the game versus Carolina coming up. We'll try to get a former Carolina Panther on with us. We have put several messages out, or at least a reporter from the Carolina Panthers to help us break down the upcoming game. For those of you folks, I'll give it a couple more minutes, then we're going to shut down the phone lines. If you want to go ahead and discuss the game from last night, we got about 2-3 minutes left in the show. You can go ahead and call us or leave a message on our platform. We went through most of the messages. Let me see, one message right here. And this seems to be the common theme among the messages is that we need to forget this game and bring our A game Sunday in Charlotte. And that seems to be, at least to the fans that are responding from Facebook and from YouTube, that seems to be the common message here. That game's over. It's over. You need to forget it, and you need to think about Charlotte. There is no good that can come out of this game from remembering, except that you don't like to lose and get blown out. That's it. That's it. So that's what you need to remember, and that's what we need to count on. Let me close this down now. So as we come towards the end of our show here, first of all, let's thank Greg Kite for coming on, former Boston Celtic great. And for those of you that think basketball is unbelievable today, I don't want to discredit it because that's not what I do. But I'm telling you what, when Greg Kite played, and he played for your Orlando Magic right up I-4 here from Tampa. And, when he played in the 80s, I mean, he had Magic Johnson. He had Larry Bird, A little bit later was the coming of Michael Jordan. I mean, we had Bill Laimbeer, the great Pistons days back then, the Bad Boys. I mean, you just had unbelievable Bernard King of the Knicks. I mean, you just had unbelievable basketball players. George Gervin, Bill Laimbeer, Carlos Malone, Charles Barkley. I mean, these are just guys that were just incredible athletes playing what they called a team game. The game's different nowadays. It's individualized so much more. And I really wish, and like Greg said, go back and look at the clips of the 80s Los Angeles Lakers and Boston Celtics competing against each other. The Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics, the 76ers and the Celtics and other teams, the Houston Rockets. I mean, basketball was at its prime, and I'm hoping it's not losing the zest. And over the next couple weeks, we're going to try to get a lot more basketball players, a lot more hockey players on our shows so that we can keep keeping you interested. Want to remind you all also, while you're still on, for those of you that, right before we go here, I want to remind you here. There we go. We have a YouTube channel, okay? YouTube, Frankly Speaking Sports. Go to Frankly Speaking Sports, subscribe. It is free, guys. But you'll get all the latest updates. You can actually now, if you go to this YouTube channel, watch this show live. So at night at 9 p.m., instead of going on your computer, if you want to pop open a brewski, have some chicken wings, go to a sports bar and watch Frankly Speaking Sports on the YouTube channel, you can do that now. We are on live TV. Frankly Speaking Sports, that's right. It's now on YouTube channel. Live TV, you can watch it on any smart TV. Go ahead and do that. I mean, it's just Like I said, it's our new channel. We also got, for those of you, we have our Twitter. Keep updated on the latest sports news at Larry Frankus. It's under Larry Frank, at Larry Frankus with the US at the end. And you can go ahead and you can join our Twitter account as well. And then, of course, a lot of you which currently belong to our Facebook group, Frankly Speaking Sports. You can watch all of our shows, taped, watch parties, get the latest, most updated news in the world of sports. So I want to thank you all very, very much for joining us today on Frankly Speaking Sports. We will be back again tomorrow on our Bullseye platform at 9 p.m. with Tony Greer. Then back Wednesday on Frankly Speaking Sports or Crew Life, whichever one you prefer to watch it on. We will have former Tampa Bay Lightning Brad Lukowich on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in every night and supporting Frankly Speaking Sports. We love you, and we'll see you again tomorrow.